All right, time to cover CPAC. I'm sure it will be a super fun time.
We are an oasis of freedom in a nation that's suffering in many parts of the country under the yoke of oppressive lockdowns. We look around in other parts of our country, and in far too many places we see schools closed, businesses shuttered, and lives destroyed.
Do you think the destruction of lives has anything to do with your refusal to follow scientific opinion?
And while so many governors over the last year had kept locking people down, Florida lifted people up. Florida is leading in protecting our vulnerable residents, saving the economy, and safeguarding the freedom of our people. In Florida, schools are open.
Oh, great. What we really need now is a bunch of children yelling indoors and refusing to wash their hands as they gouge each other's eyes out. Sounds safe to me.
Every Floridian has a right to earn a living, and all businesses have a right to operate.
You mean workers have the right to throw their lives away to feed the machine of the economy because you refuse to institute a lockdown order and UBI or wage replacement which would allow them to stay at home and keep the public safe?
Now, we are stronger as a state and much happier as a people because of this leadership. Florida has lower per capita COVID mortality than the national average and lower than 27 other states.
Wow, better than half of the states in the country where COVID was mismanaged more than any other in the world. Impressive.
Our unemployment rate is lower than the national average, even though tourism isn't fully back. Is in great shape. We have not touched one red cent from our rainy day fund throughout this whole time.
Wait, you're celebrating austerity and the fact that you didn't spend anything to help your people?
Florida got it right, and the lockdown states got it wrong.
Well, that's strange because the red states, which largely remained open, have higher deaths per capita rates than the blue states, despite having generally less dense populations.
Florida has also led and continues to lead on ensuring the integrity of our elections. Now, 20 years ago, if you had uttered the word Florida and the word elections in the same sentence, you would have been met with snickers.
Some boring Florida-specific stuff.
And then when COVID hit, I rejected pressure to make hasty and ill-conceived changes to our election administration like mass mailing of unsolicited ballots.
This despite no evidence of widespread mail-in voter fraud. It's rather convenient, though, that mail-in voting, as you prefer, is much harder for poor people, black people, and people generally who are not stupid enough to go outside during a pandemic.
And the result? On election night, by midnight, the state of Florida had counted, tabulated, and put out 11 million votes. But we're not resting on our laurels. This year, Florida is leading on banning all forms of ballot harvesting and banning third-party political groups like those funded by billionaire Mark Zuckerberg from interfering in the administration of our elections. Bottom line is this: in Florida, your vote counts.
Unless, of course, you're an ex-felon who has to pay an exorbitant fee to be able to vote.
And we will continue to have a process that is transparent and that inspires confidence. Florida is also leading in protecting our people from political censorship and in holding big tech accountable. When our legislature convenes next month, it will pass and I will sign the most ambitious reforms yet proposed for combating political censorship and deplatforming, for preventing big tech from interfering in our elections, and for safeguarding the privacy of your personal data.
Wait, how has big tech interfered in our elections? By fact-checking you?
We are not going to let the terms of the debate in our country be set by oligarchs in Silicon Valley.
That's right. They should be determined by the oligarchs in Wall Street that fund you.
Now, Florida is leading on the issues that matter to conservatives. We don't spout hollow rhetoric. We take decisive action. And what's true in Florida is true for conservatives across the nation. We will not go back to the days of the failed Republican establishment of yesteryear.
Wait, you just said you were about action and not rhetoric, but here you are giving a vague rhetorical gesture.
We reject open borders and instead support American sovereignty and the American worker.
Says the guy who opposed Florida's $15 minimum wage ballot initiative.
Building a movement on the foundation of amnesty and cheap foreign labor is like building a house on a field of quicksand.
Oh, so you're just worried about the quality of the workforce coming up from Mexico. I thought you were a free market guy. This seems kind of regulatory if you ask me.
We reject weakness in the face of the threat posed by China, including their actions in international trade.
The fuck does that even mean? What is your policy position here?
We reject military adventurism. Instead, support a strong defense solely for the purpose of protecting our nation and its people.
But you opposed the Iran nuclear deal and labeled yourself the most pro-Israel governor.
Now, the battles ahead will be made more difficult without the voice of one of our greatest field generals, my friend Rush Limbaugh.
I commemorated Rush Limbaugh too, as you can see in the top right corner. Boo fucking who, nobody cares.
Was one of the first to fight and win against cancel culture. Rush showed that fighting the left requires strength and that conservatism devoid of backbone is doomed to fail.
A bunch more rhetoric and not any action.
But when you do and you engage in the battles ahead, hold the line, stand your ground, and don't ever, ever back down. Thank you. God bless you.
God doesn't exist, man.